So this property behind was my first ever investment property that I bought. So this particular property behind us, we purchased with none of our own money. So this one property here made us over £110,000 in profit. Life-changing chunks of money, completely, full back to brick refurb. This particular property behind me cash flows me £1,200 a month. Hi, my name's Laura Muse. I'm a Sheffield-based property investor. I work with my husband. We have been covering Sheffield since 2014. We have a range of properties in our portfolio, from single buy-to-lets all the way through to new build properties. Today I'm going to be taking you around Sheffield to show you some of our projects, where we started and how we progressed over the years that we've been working with Progressive. Our portfolio now is worth over £2 million in Sheffield. That's quite a lot of property. Plus we do build to rent and build to sell. We've sold over £1 million worth of property since 2014. Okay, so this is our investment area. So predominantly we invest in Sheffield for our buy-to-lets. For our developments, we do go outside of Sheffield, so Rotherham, Barnsley, Chesterfield, but predominantly for our buy-to-lets, because we self-manage our own portfolio, so we manage the tenants. We like to keep everything in an area where it's accessible to us. We can get there when we need to, and we're kind of a little bit more in control of that. The purple is not a good area, so everybody has an area within where they live that is not the best. This doesn't fit our investment goals, so this is why we don't invest in these two particular areas. The orange ones are where we do invest. These are what we call our gold mine areas. Now gold mine just means for us, it's a perfect tenant type, it's the right house price. Before I show you around our portfolio and show you how you guys can get into property as well, please hit the subscribe, like and notification bell for this YouTube channel. Hiya, can I get an iced latte? Can I have a shot of vanilla in it with almond milk? Starbucks, it's a must in life. So I'm an equine nutritionist by trade. So if anyone doesn't know what that is, that's basically going around the UK advising horse owners what to feed the horses. So I went to university, got qualified as an equine nutritionist, worked for some of the world's top companies in equestrian. And then in 2014, unfortunately, my mum got diagnosed with terminal cancer. She was a single parent, my dad had died many years before. I was working so many long hours and it just was quite apparent I couldn't spend the time with my mum that I needed to. Unfortunately, in 2015 she passed away. Myself and my husband James, my now husband James, we wanted to start a family, and the last thing I wanted to do is spend all my time working. I handed my notice in. We sold everything we had. The only way we thought we could do that, something that could earn us money while we slept, was property. Everyone needs houses, everyone needs somewhere to live. It's one of the most secure things you can ever do. Yes, there are dips in the property market. Over the years it goes, you know, there's cycles, etc., what people talk about. But at the end of the day, everybody wants somewhere to live. And for us, it's a really secure investment. So this property behind was my first ever investment property that I bought. So I bought this property in 2018, 4 weeks after I did my first ever property training with Progressive. It's on a very busy road, as you can hear, but it's great. Oh. Purchased this 2-bed terrace for £69,000. We spent £15,000 on it, and we got it refinanced for £115,000. Rent it out for £550 a month. Still got the same tenant as it had originally. So buy, refurbish, refinance is you buy a property, you add the value by doing a refurb, and then you refinance it on the back end, and you can pull out the difference in the profit. Our exit strategy is death. So we will never sell this property. It's a great rental, but it's got great access to the city centre. It's also got a lot of local amenities, and it rents out really well. So this was my first property of many, so let's go see some more. Now we're in S4 in Sheffield. It's not an area that we invest in. It's what we class as the Bronx. So the property prices around here are quite cheap, but you also do get a lot of problems with, so in this particular area there's a lot of gangs, there's quite a bit of drugs. It's not an area I particularly feel safe in, so it's not particularly an area that I'd want to start refurbing a property and letting it out to tenants. So it's really important when you get into property to identify the Bronx areas, do your numbers, do your research, work out what type of tenant you want to put in your properties, what the cash flow is, and you can at least rule out the areas that maybe won't provide that for you. Here we are at one of our latest purchases. It is a 3-bed terrace property. We're turning it into a family buy-to-let, so let's go in and have a look. So this is the living room of the property. So this is quite a small refurb for us. In here we've got new carpets, new paint on the walls, and then we've just boxed in the electrical point and gas, electrical box in here, just make it a little bit tidier. So this is the kitchen. In this particular property, the kitchen is what was the original, so we've not had to replace the kitchen. The same with the flooring. So the good thing with this property is it was used as serviced accommodation, or it was rented out on Airbnb before, so they did keep it quite nice. So it just means for us as an investor, we're not having to do a completely full back to brick refurb. So this is a large front bedroom. We did think about making this property into potential mini HMO, so a mini house of multiple occupancy, but it's in a great family area. We know this area very well. We know what type of rent we can get for a family house, so let's just stick to that. So this is a little bathroom. Nothing much is going to change in here. In most of our buy-to-lets, we always change the tiling to multi-panel. Now, multi-panel is a plastic board. The reason that we normally do that is purely because of maintenance. So this is the third and final bedroom of the house. It's a really large attic room. As you can see, we've got smoke alarms throughout the entire building. You've got a lovely view out onto the garden. Again, this is all painted, literally just needs the carpets down, and this one's ready to go. I purchased this property a month ago for £105,000. The refurb on this property is going to be £6,000. Legal fees £1,500, and then the end value, so once we've refurbed it and we've refinanced it, will be between 125 and 130. The rent on this for a 3-bed house in this area is 695. So all of our properties that we have around here all rent out at 695 for a 3-bedroom, whether it's a terrace or it's a semi-detached. It will cash flow us each month between £350 and £400 per calendar month. So property is a numbers game. So thinking about the £350 to £400 a month, you're probably not thinking that's a lot of money, but for many people, including yourself, how many houses would you actually need on this particular street to replace your monthly income? 4, 5, maybe 6 houses. That is not a lot, and you can actually do that in areas like this. Getting out there and doing your first deal is the hardest step, but once you've done your first deal, the other ones come. So this particular property behind us, we purchased with none of our own money. When we first got into property, we thought the only way to buy property was we saved up for a deposit and we bought it on a mortgage. What we've learned over the last 3 years is we don't have to do that to scale our property business and replace our income. We've been working with other investors, people who don't particularly want to buy property, but they want to get a great return on their money. And we call these people angel investors. They lend us money for a fixed term, for a fixed return, and then we use their money as much as possible to buy little houses like this. And that's how we funded this deal, the ones that we have had in our portfolio to replace our income, and how we buy properties going forward. There are millions of properties across the UK, and there's hundreds of opportunities for you to get involved in property. The way that we source deals, how we find these opportunities, are by houses like this in a few different ways. So we can do things like leafleting, we can do banners on properties that we're currently working on, or it can just be going into an estate agent and building them relationships. Opportunities really are everywhere, but you need to get out and do this. Property is a people business. Network of people we have now is crazy. There's not one question that we know we couldn't pick the phone up and get answered by somebody that we've met through property. People support you, whether you invest in where you live or 100 miles away. I think everyone needs to get educated. There's an element of self-education, but once you get to that point, you need to go and be around people who have been there, done that, got the t-shirt, can advise you of what not to do, where not to invest. What's the Bronx? I didn't know what the Bronx was, but I know exactly what the Bronx is now, and we certainly don't invest there. Whereas as a newbie, not having that knowledge, we probably would have bought there and probably got a bit of a sting when we found out what the real implications of that would be, i.e. certain types of tenant, certain types of rent, can't really get the house value. So 100% get educated. So So now we're at a different part of Sheffield, now we're in Hillsborough. This property behind us is something that we purchased in 2015. It was a derelict newsagent's. We knocked it down and we rebuilt it into 2 shops and 2 flats. What you can see behind us, let's go and have a look. So this is one of our furnished flats. We don't normally do furnished flats in properties, but with this particular one, we actually tried it as a serviced accommodation unit, which is Airbnb. It didn't work out the best for me. One, I was not educated in serviced accommodation, so I struggled. But for us, we really just like the ease of a tenant moving in, they pay the rent every month, and then they move on. So these particular flats attract doctors, nurses, there's a hospital not too far from here. So buy-to-let for us doesn't work in this area. The purchase price of the houses is a lot more. So where we've just been, we bought that property for £105,000 for a 3-bed terrace. In this particular area, you're looking at £190,000 to £200,000 for the same property, which for us, the rent and the purchase price, we just can't get the cash flow out of that particular property. So we're just going to talk about the numbers on this particular deal. So we purchased this plot of land, so remember it was a derelict building, for £60,000 in 2015. We spent £175,000 building this building, and that's including all professional fees. We had it revalued in 2016 for £350,000. The actual profit on this building, if we'd have got it refinanced, which we didn't, would have been £115,000. So this property is unencumbered, and the reason why is because we've actually invested money in this. So our money is held in this particular property. We've never mortgaged it because we work with other investors, and it's a great thing to have in your arsenal of a property that is unencumbered when they're lending money to you. So if the worst came to the worst, we could refinance this property and give the investor the security that we do have this, that they can get their money back from. Also, if we've got future projects where we need a larger amount of money, we can then put a mortgage on this, so we don't have to potentially go lend it off somebody else. So at the minute, we didn't need the money out of this particular property. So as you can see behind us, we have 2 commercial units. So they don't have the same lease or the same contract as a buy-to-let tenant would, for example. So these 2 people behind have a commercial lease, which is for 5 years. So the larger shop, they pay us £700 a month, and the smaller shop on the left-hand side, they pay us £600 per calendar month. So that's a total of £1,300 per calendar month on this bottom floor alone. We've got the 2 flats, so we rent that out for £595 per calendar month, and the top flat is rented out at the moment for £525. So all in all, this building behind us generates a monthly rent of £2,420 a month. We're really, really happy with this particular deal. It was one of the first things we ever did. It was the first new build project that we did. So this is the place where everybody wants to be. So a lot of students are in this area, a lot of professionals come, there's a lot of individual wine bars, restaurants around here. Property prices are extortionate. So this is us here, just this little one. So now we're in the centre of Sheffield, just off Ecclesall Road. This property behind us is one of the only HMOs we have. So a HMO is a house of multiple occupancy. So it's when more than one person who is not related live in the same house. It's also known as co-living. Well, we purchased it for £175, but with legals and the refurb, it came £226,000 all in all. This particular property, we got it revalued for £260,000, which was a little bit less than what we expected. So we've left about just over £30,000 in this particular deal. So when we refinance in a couple of years' time, hopefully with the uplift, we'll be able to pull the residual money out of this particular deal. So this particular property behind us each month generates £2,060 per commencing month in rent. After us fees, obviously with the mortgage, this nets us £1,200 a month. So how many properties like this would you need to replace your income? For many of us, it's one. HMO is a great way to build cash flow. If we was to let this particular property out as a buy-to-let, we would generate about £800 per commencing month in rent. But by doing it as a HMO, this particular property is £2,060 a month. There's many strategies that fit your lifestyle and your goals. And we've got, as you can see, buy-to-lets, HMO, and we've got other properties I'm going to show you. So picking something that works for you and generating that income is really simple, whether it's one deal or 10. But the rents are massively under market value. We'd started to build 3 detached homes. Life-changing chunks of money.
Look at the state of this place.
That's disgusting.
To many people, this house might look like an absolute disaster, but to a professional property investor, this property is a gold mine. If you want to learn how you can turn properties like this into profit, then join me at the Property Revolution Summit, our brand new event on all things property, where you will learn how you can start or scale a property business. Doesn't matter if you're starting out in property, doesn't matter where you live in the country or how much funds you've got to get started. There is property strategies that will work for you and in your area. I can't wait to see you at the upcoming Property Revolution Summit. In the meantime, I'm going to get a skip.
We're outside my biggest ever deal. This is my unicorn project. It consists of 18 units, which is a mixture of self-contained flats and HMO rooms. Let's go in and take a look. As you can see, it is very dated, so we do call this wood chip mansion. We're just refurbing as we go, so as tenants move out, we're refurbing. It's a longer project. It's going to be something that we do over the next 2 years. So here we are. This is a one-bed flat. The tenant literally moved out yesterday, so we started the refurb today on this particular flat. It'll probably take us about 4 weeks to completely renovate it, put in a new kitchen, put in a new bathroom. There's quite a few damp issues in this particular building. Obviously it's a huge old building, so the damp proof cost will probably put around the window. The previous tenant was actually paying $450 a month for this. So the biggest problem with this building is, one, the location is amazing, but the rents are massively under market value. So we were getting $450 for this. Once we've renovated it, we should get between $650 and $675 for this one bedroom flat in this area. Now, this is just one flat in this entire building. We've got another 17 left to do, well, 16 left to do. So this actual building is going to cash flow us an incredible amount of money. Now, property is a journey. I would never have done this deal when I first started. So start small, build up as you go, build your confidence, your network and your knowledge, which is key. And then you can be doing deals like this. Are you ready for this? This is a real shock. So we've just started the refurb next door, and I'm going to take you into a property that was identical to this yesterday. So as you can see in here, there is a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, this is how many of the rooms are. So many of the flats are laid out like this. The one we saw next door, which we're just starting the refurb on, that's one of the larger flats in this particular building. Let's have a look at the bathroom. Scary stuff. We worked on this deal for quite a long time, talking to the vendors, trying to agree an actual purchase price. It probably took us about 18 months in total, so completely over the moon to buy something like this, from starting off in buy-to-lets just a couple of years ago to actually buying property like this is just incredible, so super excited. So for people who have HMOs, the council hold a register of all the owners and all the properties, and one of the marketing strategies that I learned at Progressive was to contact people on the HMO register to see if they wanted to sell their property or rent their property, and that's what I did. So we actually purchased this for £848,000. The revalue from the guy who came to value the mortgage, so currently it's worth 1.2. We did pay a lot less for it, but that's because, one, the condition as you've seen inside, and two, the people who currently live here don't pay market rent. They pay about £250, £300 below market rent. Quite early days on the refurb. We estimated about £120,000 for the refurb in total. Brutally honest, it's probably going to be a little bit more. This building can absorb that because we're going to obviously double the rent. Once we've completed the refurb on this particular deal and we've got it on the higher valuation, we should be cash flowing about £8,000 to £10,000 per month from this one deal behind us. This is our retirement pot. We can live off this. The people that we bought this from have lived off it for the last 20, 25, 30 years, and we can do this too. Our exit plan is death, so this will get passed on to our daughter, who would get a great start in life, and that's the reason why we're doing this as well, is for our legacy, our children. So now we're going to Chesterfield. So this is a plot of land we bought in 2016 during the pandemic. We'd started to build 3 detached homes. We finished it, we've sold them all, they've all got their new owners in, so I'm just going to take it there so you can have a little look. I think when you're first starting, I think you need to keep it really simple. I jumped around a lot when I first started, and I didn't nail one strategy. I went from single buy-to-let to HMO to serviced accommodation, which is Airbnb, and then back again. It was very confusing. I got a few things wrong. I think you need to start simple. So whether it's a buy, refurbish, refinance, and you're holding it in your portfolio, or maybe your strategy isn't to hold, maybe it is to sell, buy, refurbish and sell. For me personally, if somebody's just starting out, they haven't got the experience in property, that would be the most simple way to get on the property ladder and start being an investor. Anne Halton made an incredible video on how she built her property portfolio. If you want to watch it here, or the link is in the description. So here we are at the new build site that we completed last year. So this is three-bed detached homes. We completed this project throughout lockdown, so we first broke ground here in March 2020. 2 weeks later, the world completely changed. Fortunately, this build didn't stop. We were really fortunate. We had a great team of people. We had a great site manager who is also our joint venture partner, who pushed this project forward. All in all, it took us about 9 months to complete, and now we have 3 lovely new homeowners that are in their new forever homes. I'm going to go through the numbers. I'm going to get my trusty phone out just to prompt me because there's quite a few different ones. So we bought the land for £100,000 at an auction. Originally £350,000 from our angel to build this build. We didn't draw down all that money because of the pandemic. We managed to have some other investor money in our bank account, so we pulled a bit of that in. So the total build costs £367,000 to build, and when we sold it, we've actually made a net profit of just over £180,000 on this particular development. Seeing something from the ground up is really incredible. Life-changing chunks of money. Really exciting. We've got quite a few of them in the pipeline. So we've come to the end of the video today, and I've shown you a small proportion of our portfolio. If you haven't got your first deal yet, the best thing to do is get educated and get out and start doing this now. There are opportunities everywhere. You've got to go out there, grab it with both hands, and the only person that can do that is you. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and hit the notification bell. I've been Laura Muse. There is nothing special about me. I just followed a system and created a different life for myself. You can go and do this too.